The old woman's voice was a raspy whisper, yet it cut through the air like a knife.
I recognize the faces of all the men who beat me. I will come for you, one by one.
This happened just a few blocks from where I lived, a few years ago. There was a family known for their nightly prayers, never missing a single evening. That night, like always, they gathered together, whispered their prayers, and went to bed. But around 4 or 5 in the morning, their peaceful sleep was shattered by a loud crash in the living room. Hearts pounding, they rushed out of their rooms, fear gripping them. And there, in the middle of their home, was a young, beautiful girl. She'd fallen right through the roof, a gaping hole above her head, the only evidence of her strange arrival. Panic set in. The girl tried to flee through the main door. "Thief! Thief!" the family cried, chasing after her. She was weak, her steps faltering, and she barely made it outside before a mob, already armed with sticks and machetes, surrounded her. The noise had woken the neighbours, and they were ready for blood. They pounced on her, their anger fueled by the recent robberies in the area. She screamed, "Let me speak! Let me speak!" But her pleas were drowned out by the mob's fury. They beat her until her clothes were nothing but rags. "I'm not a thief! I'm not a thief!" she kept shouting. Finally, perhaps out of curiosity, one of the men told the others to stop and let her talk. Trembling, she confessed. She wasn't a thief. She was an old witch. She'd been flying home from her mission when the prayers from the house of the praying family had pulled her down from the sky. She had no intention of robbing or even stopping at that house. Some scoffed at her story, calling it a desperate lie. How could she be an old witch and look so young? But others started to wonder, if she was indeed a thief, how did she end up on the roof? The police arrived, breaking up the mob and rescuing her. They took her to the station, but the cell was full, so they placed her behind the counter. The angry crowd gathered outside, demanding the girl be handed over to them for jungle justice. Suddenly, a terrified scream echoed from inside the station. Everyone turned, straining to see what had happened. There, behind the counter, the young girl had transformed. In her place stood an old, hideous woman, her clothes still the torn rags from the beating. She was no longer the young girl. They saw the truth now. She was a witch. Fear gripped everyone, including the police. The old woman's voice was a raspy whisper, yet it cut through the air like a knife.
I recognize the faces of all the men who beat me. I will come for you, one by one.
The crowd scattered in terror, each man fleeing to his home, consumed by dread. The police, shaking with fear, called the central prison, desperate to get rid of her. But the prison refused, saying they wouldn't endanger their prisoners by taking in a witch. The police were left with an impossible choice: deal with the witch or let her go.